Plenty of storylines going into this one. Nothing tops Tom Izzo going to beat Bob Knight's Big Ten wins record. We talk about it if it's going to be a game, how Indiana can stay competitive, and Indiana football. That's right. That's always a discussion point. Let's go.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's right, another Locked On crossover show. What's up, everyone? Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans. Over there, Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. And Jacob, let's just cut right to it right now. We'll cut through all the fancy stuff. Hey, 5 days a week, rate, review, subscribe. Everyone knows who we are at this point if you're a Hoosier fan or a Spartan fan.
Sure.
Jacob, is this a basketball podcast or a football podcast? Because you guys down there in Bloomington, you've changed things up in the last calendar year. Talk to me straight, man. What are we doing today?
I mean, do you really want to talk football? I have a feeling you don't. I'm more than happy to go football. I'm more than happy to go about it. In case you missed it, we did make a playoff, and we just brought in one of the best portal classes, and we kept Kurt Signetti. I mean, we've done a lot on the football side. And then there's basketball, which is kind of the complete opposite. Good for you, though, there in Sparty land, though, right?
So this is the same conversation we had a few months ago. Of course, we broke down the Michigan State Indiana football game. One of us was very happy just skipping, to the game time right here. The other one was kind of just here, just present in the moment. So it is the same conversation, except we've flipped the script right now. I'm the happy one. Jacob, I'm happy for the first time in years when it comes to either football or basketball. And well, Indiana is unfortunately somehow a trade.
Yeah.
What is Indiana? Look, how about you just take it away from me? I'll let you be the one that uses the words to describe you guys right now in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you reached out to me and just hit me up like 7, 8, 10 times in a row. It's like, can we please do it? Can we please talk? Let's talk the game on Tuesday.
I will pay you to do this.
You said, please, can we make up for football season? I mean, look, it's just Indiana going into the year, right, as we kind of do a little breakdown of the Hoosiers. We'll talk Spartans in a second. It's just the fact that Indiana had such high expectations this year. I mean, we were ranked top 20 in the preseason poll, had the best portal class in the last cycle. You brought in several starters. You had a couple of bench guys, even an exciting freshman as well. And it has just plummeted, man. It just absolutely crapped out. And the reason is because of Mike Woodson. And I hate to put it on one person. The team is not playing well. There's tons of breakdown there. But at the end of the day, you are a representation of your head coach. And that's what this team is. They're unenergetic. They are not focused a lot of times. The game plan seems to be all over the place. And sometimes they'll show up and play a great 40 minutes and still lose like they did against Purdue, or they'll just not show up at all and they'll let Illinois beat them by 20 or 30 points. And that's my fear for a game like this against Michigan State, coming off a heartbreaking loss again against Michigan. Now we got to go on the road with everything going on. And of course, the announcement of Mike Woodson no longer going to be the coach here. I mean, it's just no good can come out of a game like this, I feel like, for Indiana. And I don't know. I'm just being for real, man. I'm just being real. And it's really hard to play for a guy, I feel like, that is now 100% concrete on the way out. I just think that's got to be a hard thing to do, right?
Even on the illustrious historical channel, Peacock isn't going to move the needle for you guys. Like all 17 people that aren't Michigan State or Indiana fans watching isn't going to get the boys fired up here.
No, I'm trying to get some of my non-Indiana friends who are, just absolutely bored out of their minds on a Tuesday to tune in and pay to watch this game, but they're not really doing it right now.
Because that's kind of where I wanted to go here. You talk about the lack of energy and just everything going on within your program over there. Everything about Woodson comes out that he is going to step down at the end of the year, retire, whatever lingo you want to use. You guys had a close game against Michigan at home. Yes, 3 points. You had to hit a 50-footer to, make it that 3-point game. Nevertheless, close against one of the teams at the top of the Big Ten. So do you think that's, renewed energy to play for our guy Mike Woodson, or do you got to just view last game after that whole announcement as just more of the same that you've already seen this season? Paint me that picture, Jacob. Are the boys rallying him up around Mike Woodson, or no?
I just don't see it. I really don't. I think in that scenario, it worked out to where you had a home game right after that announcement. The announcement itself was weird, and I've caught a lot of flack on Hoosiers for this, because it's like, okay, if you're going to make the announcement that he's going to step down, it seems to be the wordage they're using. Why wait is kind of the idea that I've had. So now you got to let a dead man walking go the rest of the way. And then you really do question whether they'll get up and play for him or not. And they did on Saturday against Michigan in the second half. First half was terrible. First half was exactly like we've seen all season long. And somehow they got it together. The crowd was a part of it. Even with Dusty May in the building, Indiana, how dicey that could be, right? And the storyline there. But no, Indiana played well. They just came up short again. And so I fear that was probably your last final big push against a really good team. Michigan State's even better than Michigan was. This will be probably the toughest game we play the rest of the way, even on the schedule. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of confidence going on the road. Something Indiana just hasn't done a whole lot under Mike Woodson is win away from Assembly Hall.
Perfect. So let's get to this question here. How do you guys win? Because right now, BartTorvik.com has Michigan State favored by roughly 11 points right now. It is at Breslin Center. Tom Izzo is going to try to break Bob Knight's record, of course. Everything's setting up so right for Michigan State right now. How does Indiana do it? Is it just as simple as the guys that combined for 29 points last year, Malik Renault, and then Mbako combining for, just X amount of points? Where do you see the path for victory here? Because we got to respect our opponent, which is ridiculous because I'm just a stupid podcaster with a microphone. It's not like I'm D'ing up for 30 minutes.
Sure.
What do we got to worry about, though? Jacob, take us away.
I mean, there's several guys I wish I could tell you needed to worry about, but the inconsistency has really shot this team in the foot, right? The one major consistent is Umar Ballo, the transfer from the West Coast, right? He came in from Arizona, the starting center. He is, when he's on, a walking double-double. He's going to get his points. He's going to get his rebounds. And Indiana's going to go after him down low time and time again. But what teams have figured out very quickly is, okay, just make sure he's covered and make somebody else beat you. And I'm really, really concerned, and I'm going to ask you about this coming up in our next segment about the guard play for Michigan State, because teams that have made a run with Tom Izzo and Michigan State have had elite guard play. And the problem is Indiana's guards have been incredibly inconsistent. Miles Rice, our transfer point guard, he's good for 20. He's good for 2. Trey Galloway, who's been at Indiana for over a decade, it seems like, he's either good for 15 or he's good for none. Indiana wins when they play well, and Cannon Carlisle has really slipped out of the rotation. We've got Anthony Leal, the Indiana kid, who stepped up and playing better than anybody. He hit the 50-footer, and some people were really excited about that, Matt. I mean, some people were celebrating on that shot.
FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
Shout out, Locked On sponsor. And so it's guys like that are having to step up, and you mentioned Mackenzie Mbako, too. He just hasn't had the sophomore season we wanted him to. So Umar Ballo's got to play well. Malik Renew's got to stay out of foul trouble. I think Michigan State can attack him early. Indiana's got to find somehow to make shots, limit the big runs for Michigan State, and stay alive in this game and give yourself a chance at the under 4 timeout.
We're going to flip the script here. Jacob is going to grill me about Michigan State, but I do have one more question. I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up right now because – of course, as recruiting season went further and further, Bryson Tucker's name kept coming up a lot in the Michigan State circle, specifically on Locked On Spartans. Point blank, how is he playing this year for you guys? Is he going to be a force to be reckoned? Is this going to be some weird, revenge game? Or I guess I should use the word emotionally fueled game for him? Or what kind of a season has it been like for Bryson Tucker, the former 5-star?
Yeah, it's been up and down, and he hasn't. I mean, he hasn't cracked that starting rotation. He's not really your 6th, 7th guy off the bench. I mean, he plays here and there, but I think he's just a work in progress. I think he's going to be very, very good. You can see the raw ability he has, the pull-up shot, the ball handling, the shot creating. It's there. I just don't know how much trust the coaching staff is giving him. And I do think he's still extremely raw, but now that we have a new coaching staff here, if you can hang on to a guy like that, you never know. Maybe another coaching staff can work with him, make him better, give him a little bit more confidence as well. And the sky's the limit for him. But this year, unfortunately, just hasn't been all that much of a factor for us here in Bloomington.
So, again, we'll flip things right now. Jacob's going to ask me about my Michigan State Spartans, and then things will get rosier for Hoosier football, maybe for Michigan State football, who's knows. But we will get to football talk here eventually. But first, we need to talk everyone's ears off about Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, well, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. Right now, we're looking for furniture that, just helps with organizing. My goodness gracious, with 2 kids that just have a skrillion toys at home, Jacob. Like every day seems to be.
You're making it like that at Locked On Spartans? Okay, good for you.
No, we're not, and that's the issue. But what helps is that Wayfair keeps everything low cost.
Yes, they do.
Whatever you need, whether it is storage like we need right now, and what makes it even better is the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Guys, there is something for every single style at every home, no matter the space or the budget, like I just mentioned. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. Guys, it is so simple. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Jacob, take it away, man.
It's time for me to take over.
Why am I nervous about this? Why am I nervous about this game?
You're nervous about the game or the segment? I'm confused here.
Both.
Okay.
But more so the game. I can get riled up over at East Lansing High School game if they were to visit Breslin Center. I'm a sick individual, a sick person. So.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, high school sports are great now. High school sports are fantastic. The thing that sticks out to me, there's a couple of things, but it's the fact that this Michigan State team, who's been flirting with top 10, top 15, right? They're top 15 right now after a 1-1 week last week. The thing is, in the national media, which is crazy, they're not being talked about. Nobody's mentioning Michigan State. Nobody's talking Tom Izzo. Nobody's flirting with. Nobody's worried about a top 10 or 15 Michigan State team, and I think that's wrong. I really do. So I'm going to give you a chance, Matt. Tell me why people should be talking more about Michigan State, because I can't believe it, but they're not giving them hardly any attention, especially with the likes of Auburn or Duke or other programs like that. Tell me why Michigan State deserves a little bit more love.
About 2/3 into the season, we haven't beat really anyone marquee like that. Our offense is pretty good, but our defense is spectacular. Does that remind you of a football team that played in this conference? What the fuck, Jacob? Is that your Hoosiers? That this could be a direct. Yeah, you like that little crossover reference right there? But
you've been waiting on that one. That's okay. You've been waiting on that.
I have been sitting on that like a golden egg over here. Look, the haters are right with one thing, and that's during the 13-game win streak, has Michigan State really beat anyone marquee? We thought the North Carolina victory in Maui was going to be something spectacular. Turns out that's kind of spoiled, like milk left on the counter for a month. But nevertheless, how many teams have won 13 straight, no matter against who they've played? They've beat the bad teams. Not every team can actually say that, but maybe that's why it's a little quiet. Because, well, sure, during that win streak, a few games were in the Big Ten play, obviously. They only beat one team that was above 500, and that was Illinois. That was just by 2 points. So maybe that's why Michigan State flies under the radar. Then they go to Cali. They play a game on Peacock. And then they play a game that, well, truly in the wake of the Luka Doncic trade in the national landscape, who cares? Well, and then they come back and they beat Oregon, but that's a slipping Oregon team. So maybe that's why Michigan State has fallen under the radar. But I do think there is something to be said about the way that they have played. It's just like what you said in the first segment about a team embodying their head coach. We haven't seen this in the last few years here at East Lansing. Michigan State is going back to that Tom Izzo way of basketball, defending, rebounding, and running. It is just a harken to the past of what the great Michigan State teams have been made of. Transition. We're going to beat everyone on the rebounds. We've only been out-rebounded twice so far this season. And the defense is the reason they were able to come back against Oregon down 14 points at halftime just last game. So why? I don't know. Maybe it's because people are tired of the Tom Izzo storyline. He's just been doing this for so long. Or, Michigan State hasn't beat anyone. But, hey, you know what? As long as we're beating someone, We'll take it over here.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, man, wins are wins in the Big Ten and in college basketball. Hey, we subscribe to that line of thinking in Bloomington. A win is a win. I don't care if it's a road game at Ohio State, which Indiana has. I don't care if it's a road game at the Palestra over Penn State, which Indiana has. We don't have many, but we got some.
Right.
But even for you guys, it's the fact that you're so talented and you're so deep, right? I mean, you've got Akins and you've got Fears, and they do scare the heck out of me, especially in tonight's game. But you start looking at the stats and you start breaking down the season totals. There's no one guy other than Akins that just jumps off the board. It's like, whoa, he averages 18, 19 points a game. Akins is at 13. There's one more at double digits. Everybody else is between 9 and 6, but there's 5 others in that category. How does that really play into what Michigan State likes to do, where it literally could be anybody on any given night that comes up and beats you?
And it was great during that win streak, right? Like, you can rely on anyone at any given night to have that great game. But after the first half against Oregon, many State fans that are just cowards, lesser people, myself, me, we were pretty panicked that, like, okay, maybe this depth is, just like a fun thing to have. Like, no one's really that alpha dog. But maybe the alpha dog is actually someone that comes off the bench, Jase Richardson. So he comes in as a 4-star recruit, son of Jason Richardson, NBA legend, of course. And, well, he plays more than 30 minutes a night. And he has 29 points. And he's doing things that you don't see around the offense, not just at Michigan State, but in college. He's finishing at the rim at nearly 70% as a guard. Like, that is elite. He is the second best shooter from 3 for Michigan State. So, yes, you have depth. You have a Michigan State team going 10 deep. But everyone's kind of sharing the slice of the pie equally. But with Fears out last game, he was back home sick, in his own dorm or apartment, whatever you have you. That meant that our guy Richardson was going to get a lot of minutes. Well, he made them count, and he all but single-handedly won us the game. On the offensive end, you could certainly say that. He's also really solid defensively, but a lot of guys are solid defensively. Nevertheless, yes, it is a deep team. Yes, Akins does have his great moments, but, like, the alpha could be true freshman Jase Richardson. So that's something to keep your eye on there, as he just had a true coming-out party on Saturday against Oregon. A tear is almost coming to my eye just reliving that game. So,
I'm glad you're not an emotional person at all.
Me? No. Yeah, I'm glad you know me. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let me ask you.
So thank you.
I got you. That's why I'm here. And I'm also here to legitimately ask you, are Michigan State fans worried about this game? It's at home. It's a struggling Indiana team. I mean, we haven't won a game in a I mean, is this really – because I've told you how I feel. Indiana fans are not confident at all. Mike Woodson's record against top 25 teams is abysmal. He has lost over double the amount of games he's won against top 25 teams. Like, this is not really his kind of territory, right? Yeah. Given everything that's happened, another heartbreaking loss Saturday. Indiana fans have zero confidence in this game. Are Michigan State fans legitimately worried about the Hoosiers tonight?
Michigan State fan is, which is me right here, because, again, I can get myself riled up over if the Lansing area Boys and Girls Club came to Breslin Center for a game tonight. I can find a path to defeat for them just because I'm a sick individual. But Michigan State fans, I'm feeling confident. Just seeing who Indiana is, just seeing the record on the line. And I know, like, that has nothing to do with the X's and O's of the game, but it's just the whole storybook around this with Michigan State leader Tom Izzo beating Indiana, Bob Knight, his legendary status as the top Big Ten guy. And, of course, like, it cannot be overstated on Peacock. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, Jacob. Like, this is the cream of the crop right now. So, no, it's just with all the factors going into this game, I don't think Michigan State fans are too worried. But then again, isn't that when we should be worried? Like,
yes.
When life gets, this is where crippling anxiety comes in. Like, when
here it comes,
going, like, a little too well, isn't that when things kind of start to fall apart? So this is where I start to drive fellow Michigan State fans crazy. Is just how just worried I am as a person. But no, if I could take off, like, my own brain right now. No, Michigan State fans are confident. Again, it's not just us, just talking, oh, go green. We're so. You go look at the computers. Like, Bart Torvik right now suspects a 79-68 Michigan State victory. When have computers have been wrong?
That sounds. I mean, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, what are the chances that Michigan State could, blow out Indiana like Indiana blew out Michigan State on the football field? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, it's
blocked it out of my memory, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Would not be able. No, there is that game a few years ago. I remember watching this at my buddy's apartment.
Yeah.
I think it was 2019. I think MSU was 10-point favorites over Indiana, and
yeah.
You guys, it wasn't even like a close game. You guys just beat the brakes off of us, and I was one sad boy.
That's been a long time ago, though. That's been a long time ago.
A lot has happened. A week ago and a decade ago at the same time. So
yeah, I'm glad you're over it though. That makes me feel good.
No, totally over it. It's okay. It's fine. Can I ask you one more basketball question before we get into football?
Yeah.
You guys have faced Purdue. You guys have faced Michigan. You're about to face Michigan State, so it's okay if we're not included in this mix. But as it seems to be, there is a 3-ish horse race going on for the Big Ten Conference champion.
Yep.
Jacob, who do you see as the leader of this race right now? Is there a team that's really impressing you more than most?
That's such a good question because,
I'm good for one a month. Thank you. Okay.
One. Okay. Well, that's it.
One.
So what's so crazy is I think Purdue's really good, but I'm not sold on them yet. I think Michigan State's really good. I'm not sold on them yet. I think Michigan is really good, but them struggling here.
Every game is a one-possession game.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like eventually that's going to come back and get you. And in March, that's really going to get you. And, you got Wisconsin that's in there too, Illinois trying to make some noise. I guess it's Purdue, but I don't feel confident in that. And what's the latest bracketology? Like the Big Ten's got 10 in right now. Is that still the update this week? And I fear that we have a lot of solid teams, but we don't have that great team like the SEC has. And so we're going to get teams in. I just don't know how successful we're going to be in terms of the NCAA tournament. But as much as it pains me to say, I guess Purdue's the leader in the clubhouse, but I'm not confident in that.
Wow, a season where the Big Ten gets 9-10 teams in, but they only send one team in the second round. Wow, that's so unusual. Oh,
jeez.
Crazy.
Official prediction? Is that what that was?
I guess. You want to do a prediction for this game really quick? Like, are you kind of?
I think my prediction's pretty out there. I think it's pretty out there. I mean, if we keep it within single digits, and if we play with effort, we play like we want to be there, and we don't give up 17,000 threes, we'll be okay. If we don't, then we'll probably lose by 30 and just add it to the tab for Mike Woodson.
Do you want to smile? Are you trying to smile?
Yeah.
Okay. Because October 18th, that's right. That could be time. That could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 10 months from now. I have no idea. I've not looked at the calendar in months. Our Spartans play against your Hoosiers, and that game, like you mentioned a little bit ago, didn't go so hot for us. What on earth is going on with Indiana football? Because the whole thing was, hey, they're only good this year. Their guy's sick. He comes over. He's got a bunch of James Madison transfers. Surely they're going to be out here just after this season. It's okay. They'll go back to Indiana in a hot second. But I'm led to believe that that's actually not the case. So are you guys unfortunately going to be good again? Because it was fun the first year. I rooted for you guys that 1 year, but no, I'm done after 1 year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is we're not going to sneak up on anybody anymore.
Yeah,
nobody's going to be like, oh, sweet, bye week, Indiana comes to town. No, that's not the case anymore. Yeah. Can I guarantee that we're going to be just as good or better than we were last year? No, I can't guarantee it. But I do think our roster is better than it was a year ago. I firmly believe that based off the guys you bring back, your two leading receivers, Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt. You also bring back two All-Americans on the defensive side, Aiden Fisher in the linebacker room, D'Angelo Pons in the secondary. You secured your DC. He's coming back on one of the nation's leading defenses statistically. And you go and get a bunch of starters on the offensive side of the football. Starting tight end in Stays from Tennessee. Fernando Mendoza, starting quarterback from Cal, since we're losing Curtis Work. We appreciate his services.
Yeah, right.
And you also went and got this crazy thing. You may know something about it. A starting offensive line. Got three dudes that are going to start.
Do we know something? I don't know.
I don't know. It was kind of a hypothetical question. Indiana got three dudes from the transfer portal that are going to start on the offensive line. Colorado, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Think that's pretty solid, right? Think that's pretty good. And so all of that combined, I think I know we added a couple of running backs, one that I think will start in Hemby from Maryland. I mean, this team reloaded heavily on top of what was a solid recruiting class. And so I really do think our roster's better than it was a year ago. But the problem is our schedule's harder and nobody's going to let us sneak up on them. Even though Indiana was a great story, it was still, well, we don't believe that. And it was like, oh, wow, we beat Michigan State. We beat Michigan. We beat Maryland. Like those types of games we were able to take care of. We're not going to be able to walk in and dominate those games like we did a year ago, but I do think we're better than we were last year. Can you say that about your squad up there in Sparty Land?
I think so, because it's February. The game has not been started yet, as far as I'm concerned, against Western
That's hardcore
season,
analysis right there, baby. Hardcore analysis.
My thing here is that on the offense, I think things got a little bit better, especially on the offensive line, because you asked if I know a thing about a good offensive line here in East Lansing, and Jacob, no. It's been a while since we've seen any of that, but what can help is depth. Now, this is a twofold thing here. A, you got to have your starters, of course. You just got a great starter from Wake Forest. We also have one of the top FCS transfers, if not the top, Connor Moore. He's going to play right tackle for us. The second fold of this is the depth. We went into the last season, our second and third string combined only had one guy that had any college experience. Now, going into this year, we're going to have about 6, 7, or 8, okay? Depends on what happens in the stream. Please clap for us. Thank you. That's right.
I'll put some noise
behind
it.
Thank you. Big things are happening in East Lansing. And that's because everyone just died on the offensive line last year, so true freshmen got a lot of run. But so that's what we have going for us, is that, yes, you bolstered what you lost of your good players on the starting offensive line, and you also have some depth in the backups. Now, Locked On Spartan fans are probably sick of me talking about offensive line because that's been all we've talked about. What you also do return is, of course, Aiden Childs, our quarterback, who I think progressed a little bit throughout the season. He went in the right direction. He also returns Nick Marsh. That is our best portal story of the offseason, because Nick Marsh, he's the best true freshman receiver in the Big Ten that's not named Jeremiah Smith. That young man's phone was probably blowing up with some, and no one ever does this, tampering throughout the season. And
I'm sorry, do you know what his Venmo is? Does he have PayPal? Or?
I know some people down in SEC schools that are well aware of what his Venmo is, and I heard some numbers that were thrown around. Michigan State was able to retain him. So, it was a lot.
If our schools come together, we can afford him. If we put our money together, we can just split him for the year.
I'll get back to you on that. I'll talk to people that I know. You talk to people you know. We'll see if we can get something going.
Yeah, I'll call Scott Dawson. I'll make a call.
Excellent. Perfect. So it gets interesting with the defense because there's reason to believe it got a little better for us. The secondary, we lost our top 2 players. Ed Woods kind of had an year. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of that. Charles Brantley had a really strong year. The reason that Ed Woods had an year, you could just boil it down to the pass rush was not good whatsoever. We got some young guys out of the portal from, Air Force, a guy that didn't take a single snap in Wisconsin, but a former 4-star. We're putting a lot of faith in some unknowns here. Our defensive line, it was fine in the run defense last year. See if they can take a step up. So it's a lot of hope or cope. We'll see which one this is in a few months, but there is reason to believe that our defense got a little better because at secondary, what we lost, we picked up with guys that produced at a really good level, but at FCS or UConn, for example. So we'll see if high production at lower level football can mean, somewhat success in the Big Ten.
Sure.
But unfortunately, we're in this waiting game, and that waiting is unfortunately until what they call kickoff in the actual games. But is that going to stop us from talking about it in the offseason?
Heck no.
Don't be ridiculous. No, don't
Absolutely
be stupid. Come on. So
no.
I'm still sold on Jonathan Smith, though. He's shown that he can do it at Oregon State. So I know that the first one was not great, and I know that this sounds rich, especially with a Locked On Hoosiers host where, hey, it's not like Kirk Cignetti's been there for 5 years. No, he was also first-year head coach, and he saw the roses immediately. But, yeah, can I just ask you a quick question?
Sure.
And I'm sure you talked about this ad nauseum at Locked On Hoosiers. The way you guys were treated, though, and I actually came to bat for you guys at some points at Locked On Spartans. I waded into those waters. The way you guys were treated in the college football playoff, down against Notre Dame, the announcers are talking about how you guys, I'm not using the exact quote, but shouldn't have belonged in the playoff.
No, that was pretty spot on. Yeah, that was pretty accurate.
Like, is that something that, like, actually just bothers you? Does it roll off your back? Because you watch all the other college football playoff games, and, oh, wow, that's odd. It seems to be that actually our game against Indiana was, or, sorry, our game against Notre Dame was actually close in comparison to a lot of these. So just go ahead and just run the clock out. You could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes on this answer. The floor is yours on this one.
Well, it's so crazy, and we'll wrap up with this because – at the time, right, the game, like, we were excited. We were the definition of happy to be there, but still confident that we could win this game. I was confident.
You had the trenches to do it. Sure, yeah, of course.
And then it literally came down to they just had the dudes more than we did. And there's nothing wrong with that. They ended up going to play in the national championship game, did Notre Dame. So that's not a bad team to lose to. And then as the rest of the playoff went on, not all of them, but a lot of the other games were blowouts. I mean, there were some great games. There were also terrible games.
A lot of duds.
And so that helped us out a little bit, and I think we were able to kind of get over that. And most Indiana fans, like, disappointed at the time, yes, but just appreciative of the fact that, like, let's sit back and think about what just happened for a second. And it was cool. But now we're ready to go. And I think having a head coach like Curt Cignetti who said, yeah, we're not satisfied. We're not okay with what happened. We are ready to get back and make it further and get better as a program. And you could see that with the portal. You could see it with recruiting, NIL, upgrades around campus. I mean, things are happening in Bloomington. So while it hurt at the time, fans are ready to go, and so is Curt Cignetti. So football season can't get here soon enough. Not that we want to wish away basketball season.
No, of course not. No, come on. No, I'm glad I got to ask you about that because I think I used the word disgusting. I throw the D word out there. Just like how it was treated at the end of that game. Like, maybe they didn't belong here. Kirk Herbstreit doing whatever Sundance he's doing when he's not talking about his dogs. It's weird that the college football national media, by and large, just instead of, like, celebrating the teams that had great seasons, like Indiana, for example, just decided to nitpick every step of this new 12-team college football playoff. I could personally go on for 2.5 hours. I'm sure you could double that just going off on this tangent.
I could.
Well, I had your ear and had your voice. I just had to know, like,
I appreciate that. That means so much, man. That means so much. I really do. That makes up for the fact of it makes up for what could happen on the hardwood tonight. So I appreciate it.
I hope so. Well, no matter what happens, I'll speak for myself. We will talk about this game, this basketball game, of course. Next episode here, Locked On Spartans. Jacob, choose your own adventure. Basketball, probably, right? I don't want to be your producer, but probably basketball.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got basketball stuff. We've got coaching search going on. We're going to have spring portal stuff for football, spring portal for basketball. I mean, there's a lot happening at Locked On Hoosiers. So be sure for my everydayers, you know what to do. But for Spartan people, if you want to come check it out, we do have a coaching search, which is pretty exciting. So, I mean, some people are saying Tom Izzo is coming to Bloomington. I have no idea. So
I got some phone calls to make. Oh my goodness. Let me break out of this laundry room that the mouse in Orlando has me held hostage in right now. But you know what? I'm glad that he let me 30 minutes of rap time to talk to my great friend Jacob over at Locked On Hoosiers. Jacob, you are truly the best. All the viewers, all the listeners, you guys are also the best. We will be back again, Locked On Spartans, Locked On Hoosiers. Until then, go green, and you know what? Go Indiana after midnight of February 11th.
Yes.
So there we go. I think that was cordial.
Sure, that's fair. That's fair.
Way to land that plane, man.